Have you ever sat in a quiet moment and asked yourself, is there something wrong with me just because I'm single? Picture this. You're at your favorite coffee shop, the aroma of freshly ground beans filling the air, and you overhear a couple sharing a laugh at the table next to you. You can't help but wonder if everyone else is out there, living this picture-perfect love story while you're stuck on page 1 of your own book. Today we're going to unpack that question and so much more as we dive into the real talk about singleness, relationships, and the journey to self-acceptance. Let me share a little secret. I've been where you are. There was a time when I felt like my worth was measured solely by the absence of a romantic partner. I'd look around and see friends coupling up, sharing inside jokes and planning futures together, and I'd think, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do that? It's a feeling that can hit you hard, like a sudden downpour on what you thought was a sunny day. Now, have you ever wondered why these questions keep echoing in your mind? Questions like, is there something wrong with me? Why haven't I found a partner yet? And the most daunting of them all, will I be alone forever? Throughout our conversation today, I'll be peeling back the layers of these questions, revealing the surprising answers hidden beneath them. Let's jump into our first story, a story about the times we doubt ourselves without even knowing why. I remember one evening when I was catching up with my friend Jamie over slices of cheesy pizza at a little diner downtown. Jamie leaned in and whispered, "You know, sometimes I feel like I'm broken, like there's this glitch in me that stops me from connecting with someone on that deep, romantic level." I nodded in understanding. It wasn't just Jamie. I've heard that same sentiment echoed in countless conversations. We all wonder if our single status is a reflection of our shortcomings. But here's the twist. Sometimes it isn't about being broken at all. Sometimes it's about where we're choosing to focus our energy. Let me ask you, could it be that our dedication to our careers or studies is simply a reflection of our passion for growth rather than an avoidance of love? Picture a young woman, let's call her Sarah, who pours her heart into her work. Every day she dreams big, dedicates countless hours to her craft, and yet when the topic of relationships comes up, she hesitates, not because she's incapable of love, but because she's busy building a future where love might flourish on her own terms. Sarah's story reminds us that sometimes being single is not a state of inadequacy, but a conscious choice to prioritize one's ambitions. And what about those high standards we set for ourselves? I remember a conversation with my buddy Mark. He said, "I know it sounds crazy, but I have this list, no, a manifesto of qualities I want in a partner. And every time I go on a date, I compare them against this mental checklist." Mark's candid admission made me laugh, but it also made me think. Isn't it possible that our lofty ideals are sometimes a double-edged sword? They can guide us to not settle for less than we deserve, but they might also keep us from embracing imperfect moments of connection. Now, let's switch gears and talk about society, the relentless background noise that often makes us feel isolated. How many times have you scrolled through social media, seeing your peers share snaps of cozy dinners, wedding announcements, or dreamy vacation with a special someone? It can create a false sense of urgency, making us believe that everyone is moving on to the next chapter of their love story, while we're stuck on the same page. I once attended a reunion where the room buzzed with couples chatter. In one corner, a group of friends, once inseparable, now seemed to speak a different language, one that celebrated partnership and togetherness. And there I was, sitting quietly, wondering if my solitude was a silent indictment of my worth. But here's a question I want you to mull over. What if society's blueprint for happiness isn't the only way to measure fulfillment? Consider Emily's experience, a lively soul who always felt the sting of loneliness when faced with endless wedding photos online. One day, while on a solo hike in the mountains, she realized that her moments of solitude were not voids to be filled, but spaces for introspection and self-growth. Emily discovered that her independence was her superpower, not a shortcoming. Let's dive deeper into the experiences of others. I've spoken with friends who've shared the most unexpected reasons behind their reluctance to jump into relationships. Take Alex, for instance, a person who once admitted, "I'm terrified of love. Every time I think about opening up to someone, I remember the chaos in my family growing up." Alex's story is a powerful reminder that our past, with all its scars, can shape how we approach future connections. And then there's Taylor, who confessed with a wry smile, "I just can't stand it when someone shows way too much interest right off the bat. It feels suffocating." Taylor's remark, though laced with humor, underscores a real challenge. Sometimes our personal boundaries and previous experiences make us recoil at the prospect of intimacy. Have you ever thought about why these fears persist? Let's talk a bit about attachment theory. The book Attached dives into this very subject, explaining how our early relationships shape our attachment styles, be it secure, anxious, or avoidant. For some of us, an avoidant attachment style might mean that we unconsciously steer clear of deep, committed relationships because it feels safer to remain independent. Imagine a scenario where two friends, Sam and Jordan, are discussing their dating lives. Sam admits, "I can't help but wonder if I'm wired to avoid closeness. It's like there's an invisible wall between me and the idea of love." Jordan, always the thoughtful one, adds, "Maybe it's not that we don't want love. It's that our minds have built these walls to protect us from getting hurt." Their conversation is a window into the complex interplay between our past experiences and the choices we make in love. Now, let's take a moment to talk about something we all struggle with at times: negative self-talk. It's easy to focus on every flaw when you're single, to let the inner critic amplify every insecurity. I once sat down with a friend who kept asking, "Why can't I be more like them?" It was a series of questions that left her doubting her every move. But what if, instead of fixating on what's missing, we start celebrating our strengths? Picture a scenario where, instead of asking, "Am I not enough?" you ask, "What amazing qualities do I bring to the table?" That shift in perspective can transform a self-defeating monologue into a powerful affirmation of self-worth. Before we wrap up, let me ask you one final crucial question. Have you ever considered that maybe the fear of settling isn't about love at all, but about compromising your true self? There's this idea that being single is better than accepting a relationship that doesn't resonate with who you really are. I remember a story about a friend named Lily. Lily was at a crossroads. She had an offer of a relationship that seemed promising on paper, yet something deep inside whispered, "This isn't you." Lily chose to remain single, opting to wait for a connection that felt genuine rather than rushing into what might be a poor fit. Her decision wasn't about being alone, it was about honoring her worth. It reminds me of the insights from How to Not Die Alone, which encourages us to rethink what stability means. Instead of settling for convenience, we can choose the path that leads to genuine fulfillment. Throughout our conversation today, we've explored a tapestry of questions, emotions, and experiences. We've talked about how the persistent query, "Is there something wrong with me?" can be a misinterpretation of our true strength. We've uncovered that the reasons for singleness, whether it's dedication to a career, high personal standards, or simply valuing independence, are often signs of growth and self-respect rather than deficits. I want you to take a moment and reflect on this. Every story we've shared, every question we've pondered, isn't there a thread of resilience woven through it all? Whether it's Sarah's ambitious dreams, Mark's humorous yet honest dating dilemmas, or Emily's transformative solo hike, these stories remind us that our journey as singles is rich with opportunities for self-discovery. So, as we come to the end of our chat, here's the promise I made at the very beginning. We've explored why being single isn't a mark of inadequacy, but a vibrant chapter in your life's story. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't defined by your relationship status, but by the experiences, choices, and passions that make you uniquely you. The next time you catch yourself wondering, "Am I broken?" or "Will I be alone forever?" remember that these questions are just part of a much larger conversation. A conversation where every answer is a stepping stone toward greater self-love. Thank you for spending this time with me.